Have you ever thought that a bigger paycheck would solve all of your money problems? It's a really common belief. But today, we're going to explore why a higher salary doesn't always lead to wealth. Let's get into it.
So, this brings us to a central question. Every year, millions of people get a pay raise. And logically, you would think that should lead to more financial security, right? But if that's true, why do so many people who earn more still feel like they're just getting by? It suggests that the real issue isn't just about the size of the paycheck. There's something deeper going on.
And this is the thought that drives so many of us. It sounds perfectly reasonable. More income should mean more savings, less stress, and an end to financial worries. But, as we're about to see, the reality is often a lot more complex. The money comes in, but it frequently goes out just as quickly.
Okay, to understand why this happens, let's start with the most immediate factor, and that's the way our spending habits tend to change right when our income does.
Let's understand it with a simple example. Imagine a person who earns $3,000 a month. Their expenses for rent, food, and bills total $2,950, which, leaves very little room. Now, they get a raise, and their income becomes $3,600. That sounds like progress, doesn't it? But what often happens is that their expenses start to rise to meet this new income. Maybe a slightly better apartment, dining out more often, new subscriptions. Their expenses now reach $3,500. So what's the outcome? Well, while both their income and their expenses have gone up, the gap between them, the money that's actually left over for savings, is still minimal. They're earning more, but financially they are in almost the exact same position. They're effectively stuck.
This phenomenon actually has a name. It's called lifestyle inflation. It's that subtle, almost automatic process where our standard of living expands to consume our new income, which prevents us from building any real financial momentum.
But lifestyle inflation is only half of the story. Let's look at a second, less obvious force that can drain the value of a higher salary. One that, honestly, a lot of people overlook. So every year, the prices of goods and services tend to rise. We call this inflation. Let's imagine you receive a 5% salary increase. On paper, that looks pretty good. But what if the rate of inflation for that same year is 6%? Well, then your raise hasn't actually put you ahead at all.
And here's the really crucial point. What you've actually experienced is a 1% loss in your real purchasing power. The number on your salary went up, sure, but your ability to buy things with that money actually went down. This is precisely why someone might say, I'm earning more than I ever have, but everything feels more expensive. And you know what? They aren't imagining it. These two factors, lifestyle inflation and price inflation, they point to a more fundamental concept. The core misunderstanding is the confusion between income and wealth, and it's important to understand they are structurally very different things.
So let's define salary first. A salary, it's a linear transaction. You trade your time and your effort directly for money. It works in a straight line. For X hours of work, you get Y dollars. Now, the critical part to remember is this. If you stop working, the income stops too.
Wealth, on the other hand, works completely differently. Wealth is created when you have assets. We're talking about things like investments or businesses that generate more money all on their own. It works without your direct time, and it has this incredible power to compound or grow on itself over the years. So here's the key difference, summarized. Think of it this way. A salary is a tool that supports your life today. Wealth is what creates financial freedom for your life tomorrow. This isn't just an opinion, right? It's a structural difference in how money behaves, and confusing that tool with the end goal is a very, very common mistake.
So this brings us to another important question. If a high salary isn't wealth, does it at least provide more security? Well, the answer is often more complicated than a simple yes.
You see, relying solely on a high salary can introduce its own set of risks. For one, it creates a complete dependency on a single source of income, your job. If your entire lifestyle depends on that one paycheck, then your financial stability is actually quite fragile. It's very vulnerable to sudden events like layoffs, and that's true no matter how large that paycheck is.
So, after discussing all of these challenges, let's be very clear about the role a salary should play in your financial life.
Now, to be perfectly clear, this explainer is not saying that a salary is useless or that you shouldn't aim for raises. Absolutely not. A salary is incredibly important. For most of us, it's the primary tool we have. It is the starting point for building anything else. The mistake is confusing that starting point with the final destination.
And this really brings us to the central message here. A higher salary is certainly beneficial. It absolutely can and should improve your comfort and your quality of life. But, and this is the key, by itself, without a conscious plan to manage your spending, to outpace inflation, and to build assets, it will not make you wealthy.
So, let's end with this final thought. Salary increases are events. They happen once. But wealth is a process. It isn't about how much you can earn in a single year. It's about creating systems that allow your money to behave differently and to grow consistently over time.